young parents face in today's day and age. We often repeat the adage that budgets are a statement of our values. Well, this budget shows that in California, we value our children and our parents, and we also value our women. So I want to take a minute to look around this room and acknowledge one of the many reasons why we're here today. I've met with each of these women behind me, Senators Hannah Beth Jackson, Connie Leyva, and Holly Mitchell, and Assembly members Lorena Gonzalez Fletcher, Cristina Garcia, Monique Limon, and Tasha Borner-Horvath, and have heard their passionate advocacy for the issues that impact not just women's lives, but all of our lives. I've long been an advocate for increasing women's representation in leadership, and these women are proof of why it matters. Because when enough women are in leadership, when women have seats at the tables of power, alongside a few good men, of course, wink, wink, and when women's issues are seen for what they really are, issues that affect every single one of us, families, communities, and our entire society is better off. So I want to thank each and every one of you, from your focus on policies like paid family leave, to affordable childcare, and yes, to pay equity too, to removing taxes on menstrual products and diapers, taxes that unfairly target low-income women, and mothers especially. You all have been tireless in your advocacy for the investments that California needs to create a brighter and more equitable future for all of us. I'm also excited to be here today to talk about our investment in the Earned Income Tax Credit. As first partner, I've traveled the state and met with families, mothers in particular, hearing firsthand about the tremendous benefits of this cost of living refund. I've heard from mothers who say it's the difference that's enabled them to pay for food on the table, buy their children clothes, and even pursue higher education. In January, the governor proposed more than doubling our investments in this cost of living refund, and now I'm proud that the governor's May revise increases the proposed credit for families with children under the age of 6 to $1,000. So the governor and I are proud parents to 4 young children, and these issues do hit close to home. Nothing is more important than our children's futures, and we know that this is a sentiment shared by families across our state. So I couldn't be prouder to say that in California, we are fighting for a future where our daughters will be valued equally to our sons, a California where every single child, no matter the zip code or the family that they're born into, will have the best possible start in life, and a California where every parent will have the support they need to build the best possible future for their children. Amen. And now it is my honor to introduce our next speaker, one of the bold leaders I just spoke about, Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez Fletcher. Thank you.
So I cannot express the excitement that I have today when I got the phone call telling me that the governor is adding into his May revise the cost of making diapers tax-free. For many of you who've covered this issue, you know we have been working on this for 5 years now. I've seen some of you get pregnant, give birth, have babies, understand the issue a little bit more. And what we know is 1 of every 3 families admits to not having enough diapers to properly diaper their child, 1 in 3. That means children, babies are going with dirty diapers, reusing diapers, and parents are feeling the stress of that. This is a societal issue. And we know that this tax break will give the average family in California $100 to $120 per year per child. That's enough to diaper your child for a full month. This will have a real effect for a community that we know are at their most economically vulnerable. In California, over 50% of the children are born on Medi-Cal. We know that young parents struggle, and we know that diapers are a necessity not only for the health of a child, but to drop your child off at childcare. If you want a job, you have to have diapers. So this will go a long way in helping those families who are struggling to make ends meet, to ensure that their child's not crying all night because they're sitting in a dirty diaper, to be able to provide that in a way that meets the needs of that baby. It is so important that we have a governor and a first partner who are parents of young children and understand this. I cannot tell you the frustration we've been through in trying to explain this to people that have never bought diapers. But when you have folks who understand from their own personal experience just how expensive that can be, and to put themselves in the shoes of average Californians and saying, how can we make life just a little bit better? So I want to thank the governor and the first partner for this, and I'm sure my colleagues will want to thank you so I can quit talking about diapers now, which kind of won't happen, but just in case. With that, all right, I'm not sure how this works, but I would love to bring it up my colleague who has fought with me. These fights we've done together and separate. We've tried everything. Assemblywoman Christina Garcia to talk about her proposal.
And I will continue to talk about periods past this budget. But good afternoon, buenas tardes. Like Ms. Gonzalez said, we've been working on this for a handful of years now, and so it's exciting to be here today. And I also want to thank Governor Newsom and the first partner, Jennifer, for having us here today and finally sending the message that our bodies are not a luxury, that being born with a uterus, that having a period every month is not something that's a luxury, and it's also not something to be ashamed about out there. And so I'm excited that we're finally going to remove the tax on menstrual products out there. During the last 4 years, this discussion started with a lot of passion, and I was confident it was going to get done in the first year, and it's been followed with a lot of frustration the last 4 years out there. But the discussion hasn't been in vain. I've heard from young girls who tell me that they use socks and newspapers or that they miss school. I hear from women who tell me they just don't go to work when they can't afford these products, or they let their products in their bodies longer than they should, and they end up sick out there. And so getting rid of the tax makes it more affordable, but it also tells all women out there that our bodies are just as important as men's bodies out there. I tell folks that it's not just about being poor, but what happens when I'm at work and I don't have access to these products and I'm in the middle of negotiations? I could stay in negotiations and have an accident, or I could go out and spend half an hour trying to find that tampon and that pad or that cup to get me through that. And so it's for all of us. When we don't have access to these products, we are missing out on part of society out there on a regular basis. So I'm excited for this today. For the first time in 3 years, I'm able to think about what's next in the menstrual equity discussion, right? And so I started off by telling you that I'm not done talking about this because I have young women out there who are advocating, who continue to advocate, who have told me, you know what I want? I want a school where they talk to me about the different products that are out there so that I get to make a choice that's right for me and right for my body. And so I think we need to be having those discussions as we normalize our bodies, as we talk about our periods out there, as we talk about the fact that there's nothing to be ashamed of by being born a woman out there. And so we have a long way to go out there. And so I'm excited to celebrate. I'm excited to celebrate with all the advocates who have been beating the drum for the last 4 years, who started here in California with the first bill. And while we fell behind and a dozen states have beat us to the punch, haven't stopped. And because of them, this has become an international discussion. And so today I'm celebrating with all of them. We're all thankful to the governor and the first partner for making sure that we tell the message that our bodies matter, that our biology matters, and our budget now reflects that. And for the first time, we're gonna have a gender-neutral tax code out there. So I have exceeded my time, but I do wanna say this because this is gonna help a lot of people out there who speak lots of languages, incluyendo español. So para mi gente que está viendo en español en Telemundo, en Univisión, esto es una victoria para las mujeres. Y el mensaje que estamos dando hoy con el gobernador y con la señora es de que nuestros cuerpos importan, que nosotros como mujeres somos tan importantes como los hombres y que nuestros presupuestos van a representarnos a todos en el futuro. Gracias. Oh, next. I am Newsom. Oh, okay, so it's my pleasure to introduce Senator Holly Mitchell, who has been an advocate and a mentor for so many of us.
Good afternoon. First of all, Governor, thank you very much for having the courage and being man enough to stand here in the middle of these kinds of conversations. We appreciate you. I know it's not easy, but we appreciate you. First of all, I'd like to join with my colleagues in the Women's Caucus as we celebrate that children living in poverty will have greater continuity of care and more stability in their lives to achieve lifelong success with the incorporation of SB 321 into the May Revise. In 2008, when I got mad enough to leave the agency that I loved and ran, Crystal Stairs, to run for public office, I was running the largest stage one, I was managing the largest stage one contract in the country. And I had to look in the face of child care providers and mothers and fathers every day to try to explain to them a very complex early care and education system. When they were simply saying, I'm a CalWORKS recipient, I am receiving this entitlement, but I am working hard to go to school, get a job, and create a life for my children. Why is it so complicated? Why are the rules different in every stage of this transition? And we understood that, and so it has taken these 10 plus years to get to a point where we could put some logic and reason into our early care and education system. The stage one contract, the stage one program in CalWORKS is when the families are most vulnerable. They're transitioning off of cash aid and they're trying to navigate a very bureaucratic system. The inclusion of SB 321 into the May Revise will create stability and continuity. And anyone out there who's a parent or a grandparent or a tia or uncle, understand that continuity of care is what's important. A high quality, affordable, consistent child care experience is what helps children thrive. So this bill will allow that. As long as you're in stage one, you'll have continuity of care. So if you're in school, part-time job, job training, whatever the case is, we'll factor in your transportation time if you're on public transportation. I'm thrilled that we are continuing to recognize that children don't get do-overs. And so as we have taken years to try to rebuild an early care and education system that is worthy of the children who are in it, we have to recognize that they're not going to stay 3 for 5 years to allow policymakers and the grown-ups in the room to figure it out and catch up with the funding. So SB 321, included in the May Revise, will go very far in making sure that these children have all the resources they need in California to thrive. Thanks to the governor and the first partner and all of the advocates and stakeholders who have worked tirelessly for years to get this into the budget. Thank you, sir. And next, it's my pleasure to bring forward my former seatmate, a long-term member of the Women's Caucus when she was in the Assembly years ago, who recognized these issues were important then, and she's come back for a second act to make sure that paid family leave and all these issues continue to be on the forefront of our agenda. State Senator Hannah Beth Jackson.
Thank you, Well, good afternoon. You know, children don't get a second act, but parents and particularly grandparents discover they frequently do, because they frequently are called upon to try to care for their grandchildren, and grandchildren are frequently called upon to care for their grandparents. So we have a multi-generational community, and in this state we have taken the lead in trying to recognize that, and yet we are still so far behind. So I want to also stand proudly with Governor Newsom and first partner Jennifer Siebel Newsom and the Legislative Women's Caucus, recognizing the importance of these issues. You know, I stand here and I look out and we're seeing more and more women. We still see men primarily with the cameras and what have you. But when you think about it, we need in our society today to have both moms and dads, both parents or family members, there to help care for our families. We aren't just going out into the workplace and when we get home everything is perfect and it's like father knows best and leave it to Beaver how everything seemed to be perfect, perfect house, perfectly manicured wife, perfectly cared for children. That is not the world we live in. We have challenges today because more and more women are in the workforce than ever before. What do we do with our children? What do we do with our aging parents? What do we do when we have a family member who is sick? The research is clear. Paid family leave has enormous benefits for children, for families, for parents, and for the economy. And California, as I mentioned, has led the way implementing the nation's first paid family leave program 15 years ago. But I am pleased that we are here today expanding on that, because we recognize that giving only 6 weeks of leave isn't going to provide the kind of care for a newborn. So this year I have introduced legislation with the blessing of the first partner. We can talk about that later. And certainly with so many of my colleagues here today, so that we can assure that for newborns, we get, hopefully, as we move forward, our goal is at some point in time, as soon as possible, to have 6 months when a parent and a partner, designated person, if not a spouse, will be able to spend that 3 months for job-protected, primarily paid family leave to care for that newborn. We also need to be able to care for our loved ones when they get sick. So we are expanding the definition of family member to include grandparents and grandchildren and in-laws and all the other relationships that today we call family. So I'm very excited to announce that the governor's May revise will expand paid family leave by 2 weeks, from 6 weeks to 8 weeks for bonding and caregiving starting July 1, 2020. Now, we still have work to do to ensure that the leave is job protected. Very important, and I have legislation again that is the women's priority legislation, SB 135, which includes that. I look forward to continuing that discussion. We really need to move this forward, and thanks to the governor and the first partner for prioritizing gender equality and pursuing bold proposals that address the realities of our modern working families, that recognize that children need diapers until they're trained out of them, that we as women have physical needs that should be met, that must be met, that are an integral part of who we are as a people and who we are as a state. And with that, I want to turn the microphone to Senator Connie Leyva, who is the chair of the Legislative Women's Caucus and who has been leading the fight on many of these issues as well.
Thank you, Senator. Good afternoon. What a pleasure to be here today. As the chair of the Women's Caucus, along with my vice chair, Assemblymember Monique Limon, you know, in this job, when you legislate, not every day is exciting. A lot of days aren't that exciting. But today we are thrilled to be here, and I'm thrilled to be here with all these women, with the Legislative Women's Caucus, who have been doing this work for so many years, but even more importantly, who is at the top matters. And we are so lucky to have a governor who gets these issues, and a first partner that if maybe he doesn't get it, I bet she'll give him a little nudge and let him know. So I could go on and repeat everything that my colleagues have said, but I would really just like to say how excited we are to be here today, because this is a step forward for women, it's a step forward for working families, and it's a step forward for California. So a huge thank you to the governor and to the first partner. And now it's my pleasure to get to introduce an enlightened man, the governor of the great state of California, Governor Gavin Newsom.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, this is humbling, being in the presence of remarkable people that all just happen to be women. If you ever had any doubt about the leadership in the state, look behind me, to my left and right. We are blessed, and I'm enlivened by that leadership, and I am grateful for it, and I'm really here to amplify their efforts. These are announcements that we have made, announcements we're making today that are efforts that have been underway for years and years and years. And had it not been for those efforts, had it not been for the trial and error, running a little bit short of crossing the finish line, the conditions would not be right for the announcement we're making today. And so I want to just reinforce my gratitude to the leaders assembled here, and thank them on behalf of millions and millions of Californians that will benefit because of their devotion to the cause of equality, because of their commitment to low-income families, because of their commitment to highlighting issues that have long needed to be highlighted. Issues of diapers, for me, it's personal. We have 4 young kids, 2 still in diapers. We're working on 1. It's taken a little longer, stubbornly. than it should. But it's an issue that, you know, had you not had kids, perhaps you can intellectualize it. But boy, I can tell you, I don't care how well you're doing, it hits the pocketbook for families, not just low-income families, middle-income families. I think this step is long overdue. It was noted that a number of other states have actually taken the leadership. It wasn't because we weren't out there to begin with. We just didn't get it over the finish line. But we're now joining a number of other states in advancing this effort to reduce the costs. And by the way, I just want to reinforce the costs. There are estimates that roughly 14% of after-tax income of low-income family, 14%, just go to pay for diapers, just to pay for diapers. So this is indeed a big deal. On the issue of menstrual products, yeah, Holly's right. It's not the most comfortable place to be standing talking about these issues. I'm just being honest about that. Perhaps it's my Irish Catholic heritage, but it's important. So guys, yeah, pay attention. You know, listen, learn. You know, don't take things for granted. This is real, and we need to attach ourselves to addressing this issue as well. And so let me just compliment the tenacity and the resolve and the leadership. Christina, you've been incredible on this, and I don't think we've had. My gosh, yeah, no, she's given me some gifts, but there's a poster outside. I can't walk the streets without her sharing her point of view on this, and I've heard it for years. You got me, so I'm here, and I'm proud. By the way, just to underscore, the menstrual tax, 11 states have advanced that tax. Diaper, 8 states, so we are joining those other states. The cost is, I mean, look, it's not insignificant.